Hey trainers, welcome to the WPL YouTube channel. Today we're going to be going over the top picks for Pokemon who were not chosen in last week's draft. I'm your host today, Octo Punisher, also known by my team name, the Honolulu Pukamukus, and I'm joined by the General Manager, Jay. Go ahead, say hi, Jay.
How's it going, guys? It's good to be here.
It's nice to have a shoe on the other foot today. Are you excited to go over these
I am.
Pokemon?
I am. The draft was a blast, man. And I'm looking just kind of roughly over who was left, and this video is actually very exciting to me. Great idea, and I think everyone's going to enjoy it too.
All right, I am glad to get started. Now, would you mind telling the audience what your pick for underrated or surprised you weren't seeing selected Gmax?
Yeah, actually, Gmax is probably, I would say, the thinnest tier based on, like, I'm sure everyone can really be used with support and versatility and things like that. But the Gmax, it was a little harder to find something that is really, could be beneficial to most teams. Excuse me, which is
Mm,
what I was kind of going for with most of these picks. But I'm gonna go with Gmax Pikachu for the first selection and see if that just
mm,
popped up there, and it did. So Pikachu here, not much really to look at. Just not fully evolved. Eviolite doesn't really help it, but the Lightning Rod ability is probably the underlooked part of Pikachu when it comes to its Gmax form, because everybody looks at the Gmax ability, the Gmax move that it gets, that paralyzes everyone 100%. So unless it
right.
resists it, of course. But the Lightning Rod ability is so useful. I actually saw a video by Weedle Twin Needle where he just absolutely wrecked everybody with the right amount of support. Pikachu was just an absolute monster. You can give it the Focus Sash. You can give it the electric. What's the item? Electric
Light Ball, which
Light
doubles
Ball,
attack and special attack.
which is interesting because it actually has a higher attack stat than it does a special attack stat. So you can run a physical Pikachu, which you don't usually see in this line. So that would be my pick for the Gmax tier, and I think someone may snipe that if their Gmax is kind of underwhelming throughout the season.
It's always difficult to anticipate how much use you're going to get out of a Gmax. Normally, they're used as an attacker because all of the Gmax moves they deal damage and have an additional effect. But
Mm-hmm.
you always have the option of running a support role. I know from personal experience. Um, however, my Gmax pick was Kingler. Uh, Kingler's Gmax move is somewhat unique in that it is the only Gmax move and only max move to lower a stat by 2 stages.
Two
Water,
stages.
yeah, it's the speed stat, and Kingler has a middling speed stat, so getting the 2 point speed drop can actually allow Kingler to outspeed some of the faster Pokemon in the meta.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've
Um,
seen a pretty heavy duty Gmax Kingler, but I think it was Visualize that did it, and it was really fun to watch. I love watching his videos, so I think Kingler can be pretty good. Yeah. 10,000
um,
horsepower of crushing power. I'm just reading here.
Actually, the power talks about in its Pokédex entry seems somewhat applicable to the Pokemon in the game as well. 130 base attack stat and access to Sheer Force outside of Dynamax. It's basically a free life orb. But
Hmm.
in addition to the 1.3 times damage boost, it takes away the hit point loss from using life orb. So you could have double life orb and no HP loss.
Hmm. Yeah, Sheer Force is probably one of the more underlooked strong abilities, I'd say, as it went on. Because I remember Sheer Force, what was the main one that was run a long time ago with Life Orb? I think it was Darmanitan. When I think in series, not series 5, but Gen 5, it was actually pretty nuts. Because,
Uh,
yeah, like you said, not many people don't realize, not many people realize that Life Orb doesn't take away damage with Sheer Force.
right.
So I
Yeah.
really like that pick.
Um, Ironically, both of us are talking about the damage output from abilities and items for our Pokemon, but the routes that we chose are somewhat different, with Pikachu having the option to run support, for example, with the paralysis and the lightning rod, and then Kingler is basically sheer force, like the ability.
My cat has decided to join us for this.
Oh, you know she thirsty for that attention once the video starts going.
She's the star of the show. Her name is Princess, everybody. Let me see. Yeah, Kingler, like honestly, yeah, like it's more so like 130 base attack stat is just monstrous. Like you can't ignore it. Like you kind of have to make it dead if you run into this thing. You know. So maybe you can use that for baiting too. That's another thing a lot of people don't really do is you can have a really strong Pokemon out there and hit protect and the other guy just sets up.
Yeah, I mean, even before the match starts, when you see a Pokemon with such high power, you have to have an answer for them or they'll sweep your whole team. And that honestly applies to Pikachu with Light Ball and Kingler.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so our plan for this is to basically pick one Pokemon per tier. We have decided to skip over the F tier. It's quite extensive. I think it would be an interesting dive, but it sort of would deserve its own video at that point. I'd like to move on to the A tier. For this one, I thought it would be fair to take a look at Moltres. And the reason is, among Pokemon in the A tier, Moltres basically has the highest base stat total tied with Articuno. I think a strong case can be made for bringing Moltres onto pretty much any team because they have passable stats all around, but that 125 base special attack with Stab Max Airstream and Stab Max Flare, I think adds a lot of power to any team that needs coverage, and every team can use speed control. So Moltres could fit on a wide variety of teams, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I was swept a couple of times by a Moltres. I was not expecting. You don't see a whole lot of Cantonian Moltres in the meta these days. You usually see the Galarian form of it, but yeah, and you don't see a whole lot of rock. Have you run into a lot of rock on the ladder? Like a lot of rock attacks? Like you see some max, max rock falls every once in a while, but I'd say it's a lot of steel, a lot of ground. You know.
Uh, to be fair, unless your team has a pretty significant rock weakness, it's less likely for your opponent to go for the max rock falls. But I'd say the most common rock type, at least, would be Regirock, who is definitively a threat at this point. Other than that, there is some rock coverage I would expect from, for example, Landorus. Can't underestimate the power of a potential flinch from Rock Slide, and so even if it's not for the max rock fall, there is usually rock coverage on most teams, I would
Mm-hmm.
say. Yeah, that is the biggest glaring weakness to Moltres, and I think is one of the contributing factors to their lower usage, that 4 times weakness to rock. But that has not stopped every Pokemon with that weakness from success, and I don't think that would stop a Moltres in a draft league. What was your A tier pick, by the way?
My A tier pick is actually a Pokemon that I passed on in the draft. I actually had,
Hmm.
I wanted to, I didn't really have a strong Trick Room setter on my game plan, so I kind of went with a couple of different ways to stop Trick Room, and even potentially set it. I guess you could. Mesprit's my A tier pick. I'm going with. It's on the faster end of a Trick Room setter, but I think it's
Right.
probably more so there for the Imprison. Um, having single type of psychic, it's pretty good as well. But also, it's more so just you could utilize it so many different ways. It gets charm, it gets imprison, like I mentioned. It gets pretty much every single form of weather, like sunny day, rain dance, sandstorm. It doesn't get hail though. Both screens, helping hand. You know what I mean? Like it just goes on and on and on. So it's kind of one of those you don't really know what you're gonna get when your ally switch is another one. Nasty plots that you can set up. So, and going back to my kind of theory on a valuable, not just my theory, but I think just a lot of other people's as well, is just versatility. You can run a physical. It's got 105 attack, 105 special attack, decent, bulk with 80, 105, 105. Yeah, I'd say Mesprit. Like, how do you even prep for this thing? Like, you can't really prep for it. So I wanted it for Imprison, and I didn't end up grabbing it. I grabbed somebody else, and then I just kind of bailed on my idea. So that's my A tier pick for probably the more valuable ones left over.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say that a strong case can be made for just about any Pokemon, any tier, but one of the most valuable qualities that you can have in a pick, but not necessarily more at the higher tiers, but overall, having flexibility. And Mesprit really embodies that because you have the option to set Trick Room, but also to stop Trick Room. You have the option to go offensive or defensive, and because of that even spread of stats, 105 across the board, except for speed,
HP.
HP.
HP and speed.
Yeah. Um, it really enables Mesprit to do a lot, and being psychic type, they almost certainly have access to ally switch, and having levitate next to somebody with a ground weakness
Yeah.
always has its own value as well.
Mm-hmm.
Um, by the way, I noticed that we skipped from Gmax to A tier. Were we going to cover S tier?
No, I honestly, if you guys like following in the video, like if you guys are watching, if you guys just have a look and see who's available in the S tier is just so stacked right now. Like we could make a video alone just on multiple videos. Like if we look at, I'll just bring it up really quick. Who's available in S tier right now, and it's just nuts. Like there's everyone is available. Like there it was almost impossible just to pick one. So let me just look here. I'll just start naming them: Arcanine or Arcanine, as Wolfie says, Weezing, Galarian Articuno, Galarian Zapdos, Porygon 2, Entei, Milotic, and the list just goes on and on and on. Like, we'd be here all day just looking over S-tier Pokemon. So that's probably why we just moved on to A.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say that, and I certainly agree. This was a mutual decision in the end, but it was originally suggested by you, so I'm glad that you were able to explain it for us.
Mm-hmm.
Moving on back to the tiers that we will be covering, what was your pick for B tier?
My B tier pick was actually Noivern, and I'm actually really surprised Noivern wasn't picked up by anyone
That's
because
fair.
we had
Fair.
16 teams, 2 picks per tier except for Gmax. So that means 32 teams, 32 picks passed on this Pokemon. Me being one of them. So I'm kind of
Right.
surprised in myself. Noivern, if anybody's been watching or was watching the WBE, is probably the most well-known draft league because it's from all the popular YouTubers. Noivern was used almost every single week by Cybertron Zhang, Aaron Zhang, and for obvious reasons, it's got decent. Yeah, oh my god, decent. Its special attack can be used. 97 is, everybody's always afraid of the Life Orb Venusaur, and this actually has a higher special attack stat than that
True.
Venusaur. So, but with a 123 speed, base speed, it outspeeds so many different things, and it gets access to Tailwind, which a lot of people run Tailwind with the Prankster user, but you can run Tailwind with pretty much anything, not to mention something with that much speed that can give its partner, an advantage when it comes to going first and possibly outgoing the other Pokemon. So you see a lot of different ways to utilize it too. You got Solar Beam, so you can run Max Overgrowth. You can run Sunny Day, Set the Sun, which I've seen before too. What else here? Dragon Dance if you wanted to run physical, Taunt, Heat Wave. So it's just a lot of different ways you can use Noivern, but I'd say just the speed tier alone in 123 is a very good reason to use Noivern. So yeah, it's still available if anybody's looking for something a little faster to set a Tailwind. I know a lot of Pokemon could benefit from it.
Something I would like to add to the long list of beneficial qualities that Noivern possesses is when you play in a draft league, the on the one hand you have a lot of information in the sense that you know exactly which Pokemon your opponent could bring, but beyond that, a lot of it's up in the air, and the sets can vary wildly from team to team due to the meta being the Pokemon across your two teams. As a result, anything which gives you basically free information is probably going to have a lot of value.
Mm-hmm.
And arguably the best ability for Noivern is Frisk, which on Sendout will tell you both of the item on both of your opponent's Pokemon that are on the field.
Mm-hmm. You just have to
Having
remember what was actually said.
right,
Or you run into somebody that has Japanese names as their team. It's just like blah 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 has this item and blah 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 has this item. And you're like,
well, I've got to
okay.
say it's quite a That's something you definitely have to worry about when you're playing on cart. But
Oh yeah.
thankfully, with the exception of one match played so far, all the games have been on Showdown, and there's the dialogue box. So if it takes you a minute to figure out who's who on the field,
Yeah.
you can look back at chat box, and you should be okay.
I just thought that was a funny thing when I was watching. I forget who it was, which YouTuber it was, and he's just like he had Frisk, and he's like, "Oh my god, I had it there for a reason, and it didn't work." So
Oh, I remember something like
it might have
that.
been like what's his face? James Beck. James Beck. I think it was
Oh
him.
yeah,
It's funny because yeah. So
I
Noivern.
mean, I guess that's proof that it happens to the best of us, eh?
Yeah, if anybody actually doesn't, if anybody's looking for a YouTuber that's really really skilled and you can learn a lot from, James Beck, spelt Baek. If you're looking for it, he is phenomenal. Not as well known as the other YouTubers like the A Drive and the Cybertron Zang and the
Right.
but James Beck is a phenomenal player. Goes to tournaments regularly. I think he's finished like a top 5 in a lot of different tournaments he's played. So yeah, check him out.
Um, he also does really good exposition and explanation of his moves. So
Hmm.
if you want to understand his process, he's good for that. Um, Now I would like to try my hand at exposition. My B tier pick is Mian Chao. Um, there are a couple of qualities which make Mian Chao valuable, and almost you can put a premium on them in a draft league. Every team is likely to get a maximum of one fake out user. Mian Chao has fake out and is faster than almost all the others. So if you need to stop your opponent from using fake out, especially on a crucial turn one, if you're going into trick room, for example, or you're trying to stop trick room, having that immunity to being faked out and the ability to fake out is huge. In addition to this, Mian Chao has fairly good speed at 105, great base attack, um, fighting stab, and respectable coverage, and a few support moves to throw in. So I'd say the biggest quality working for Mian Chao is that combination of the ability to take a fake out without flinching and to be able to fake others out.
Hmm.
That high speed tier puts a lot of value into Mian Chao's fake outs. Mian Chao being fighting type also has coaching, so if you're not too
Yep.
impressed with Mian Chao's stats, you can always throw on a focus sash and then power up your partner.
Yeah, I was actually gonna, as you were chatting, I was just gonna mention coaching as well. Like, is normally used by not a whole lot of them like prominently. So like, it's to see coaching on something like this, it might kind of throw a few people off if they didn't prep for a lot of the moves that they had. And Mian
Hmm.
Xiao, yeah, again, ally switch. Like,
Yeah, the move everybody got, Gen 8.
yeah, I think that's yeah. We should make an entire video of why ally switch is should be oh, nerfed. That's what I was gonna say. It gets baton pass too, actually. Now that I look at it. So yeah, you
A
can.
bit less access to setup, but with the max moves, you can always power yourself up that way.
Yeah, that's true. You don't see a whole lot of baton passing in doubles anyway, but yeah, she's there. I just kind of I was looking down the list and I was just like, oh shoot, baton pass. I guess I've seen a pass Mian Xiao before. Ooh.
Oh, and singles or doubles?
Probably singles. I'm kind of new to the double scene. It gets
Oh, okay,
reckless
that's
too.
fair.
High jump kick, probably one of the more powerful high jump kicks in the game too, if you have
Oh,
reckless on it.
certainly. Yeah, really ups the ante of the protect game. Even just having the ability to threaten high jump kick
Mm-hmm.
can add a lot of dynamics into the game, making it harder for your opponent to choose when to protect, and being able to influence when they protect is going to give you a lot of momentum as well, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
So that's definitely something very important to consider. Of course, the reason for this is when you go for a high jump kick, if you miss,
Yeah.
either due to protect or um,
It hurts so much.
accuracy, 50% of your maximum health.
50%. That I think I've done it on somebody and I felt really bad for them when it happened. I'm like, ugh.
You protected on them and they lost half their health.
Absolutely.
You
Called it.
devil.
I think it was against a Cinderace too, which I think there's still one available in the S tier if anybody's or A tier. S. I think it's an
A
S.
tier.
A tier. Wow.
I think so.
Good
Yeah,
value.
how the mighty have fallen.
Cinderace banned in Series 6, so it's nice to see it back. So I think Harlem Haunters grabbed the G-Max version, so watch out.
Yeah. As for threats in the D tier,
Oh, C tier.
oh my goodness, C tier.
The
Ooh.
K tier.
I thought it was.
We're so lame. You or me?
I would let you go first, but I'm maybe too excited about this pick to let the opportunity pass.
It's Chinchino, everybody. It's Chinchino. I'm spoiling it.
Chinchino. Chinchino was somebody who I thought was an absolute threat the last season. With the access to triple axle, you have your ice coverage, bullet seed, grass, rock blast has rock in the name, stab tail slap for just all around like ability to deal damage, skill link making sure all those hits land. Chinchino doesn't have the best attack, but
When it
the
hits
best
five
way to
times.
compensate,
Yeah.
yeah, the best way to compensate for lower attack is higher base power. And with skill link, all of those hitting 5 times, the minimum is going to be 120. So I would say that alone is already strong, but you have also additional options. If you were to run King's Rock, you have 5 opportunities in one attack to get a flinch.
Yeah.
Uh, or you could even go ham and say, let me slap a choice band on this.
Oh my
The
god.
damage output from the high base power and being super effective is immense. That's to say nothing of the support moves that Chinchino gets, on top of having a great base speed at 115.
And not to mention too, like I think we worked out the math not too long ago, and when we were talking about this a while ago, that I think if you put a King's Rock on this thing, I think the chance of a flinch, if you get all 5 hits off, which he does, is like over 40%. So it's like a 40% chance of you getting a flinch on that round of 5 attacks that come in. So that's, I think it was like 44%. It's just monstrous, right? And a question for you, and this is actually, I don't know what the answer is to this. Does that mean there are 5 equal chances for a critical hit too?
Yes, that is correct. So if you were to slap on a scope lens,
Yeah.
each hit would have a 12.5% chance of getting a crit.
Yeah, so that's a lot of damage, especially with the coverage too, with the bullet seed, the rock, so grass, rock, normal for stab, and not to mention the triple axle that doubles every turn. I think it is the damage.
Yes, the original base power is 120. If you wanted to run that route, it will hit 3 times just as long as you don't miss on all 3. So an alternative is to use one of Chinchino's other abilities, which is Technician, and that doubles the power of base move
Oh
of
god.
base power of moves under 60 base power. Each hit from Triple Axle is 60 base power or less, which means all 3 of them are going to get powered up, which means Triple Axle has a base power of 180.
Stop it. Stop giving people ideas. We should. Okay, we're gonna cut the video. We're gonna kill the video. We're done. We're done here. Oh man, yeah. Chinchino can be just a monster. I think it's fake out too, doesn't it? No.
It's fake out or faint.
I thought it
One
did get
but not
fake
the
out.
other.
I'm wrong.
All
It
right,
doesn't get
I'm gonna
fake
check
out.
that. Yeah, I thought they got fake out too for some reason, and then I was, I mean, I wasn't that disappointed. Chinchino's good for a lot of other things, but I mean, I couldn't complain if they did get fake out, of course.
No, it gets Sing, man, just as good. Sing.
Half the time, yes, it is.
It's 55%. I think it's yeah, which actually is a good segue into my D tier pick. Now that I think
Oh,
of it,
no.
that was completely not planned, but that's just how good we are naturally. D tier Sigilyph or Sigilyph or however you want to pronounce this ungodly looking thing. Just look at it. It just looks like it's not
Is a
happy.
Sigilyph.
It doesn't look happy. So Sigilyph, I actually had on my radar as well. I did grab Whimsicott round one, so I had my versatility with the Whimsicott, but when you look at this thing, like if you look at his base stats, it gets 72, 80, and 80 for its defenses, but it gets a 103 base special attack and 97 speed. 97 speed is an interesting tier because there are so many good Pokemon there in the base 95 speed tier. So if you run a timid Sigilyph, this thing can get off a Tailwind pretty quickly. Not to mention, it gets a lot of other support moves like Icy Wind, and just going down here, it gets both screens. It gets, you can run some shenanigans with skill swap and things like that. And I actually saw a Psycho Shift one that had a Flame Orb on it. So if you, none of you guys that are listening, if you guys don't know what Psycho Shift does, it actually passes your status onto your opponent, and it has 100 accuracy. So it actually, you can burn yourself and then just keep passing the burn to your opponent. So with 100% accuracy. So that actually can be really interesting if you're facing a very physically rough team. But there was one thing I did want to mention as well. That there's a move that not many Pokemon get in a move called Gravity. Gravity, a lot of people, they just think that Gravity just grounds everything. So, and that's what it does. So flying types, it doesn't remove their typing. It just makes them on the ground. So they get hit by terrain is affected. Right. It makes them, I'm trying to think of other ways that being grounded. So levitate, so you're hit by ground moves, things like that. But there's actually another feature of this attack. So Gravity actually boosts your accuracy by 1.67. So, and I actually found that out recently, so I didn't know that. So if you look at moves that are really reliant on accuracy that don't really hit very often, such as Hypnosis with a 60 base accuracy, Sing with 55, things like that, you can actually run Gravity and then hit a lot of your Hypnoses and your Sings as well, and just things that the base 95 attacks that always seem to miss. They will not miss with Gravity down, but just keep in mind, if you're going to use it, it works on both sides of the field, so your opponents also get that boost.
A lot of shenanigans can go on with Hypnosis, but one really important thing to note, and a reason that Jay did not mention it as a possibility, when you go for a one-hit KO move, and friendly reminder that Dynamax Pokemon are immune to one-hit KO moves.
Mm-hmm.
When you go for these one-hit KO moves, the accuracy is determined purely by the level of your Pokemon compared against the level of your opponents. And so if you use Gravity, that accuracy calculation will not change. So Gravity actually does not make it more likely for your one-hit KO moves to land.
I actually didn't know that. Any of that. Even your original explanation, I didn't know it was different based on the level tiers. That's kind of interesting. Yeah, I just realized this too. It was such a good segue. I kind of ruined it. But did you catch it? I missed Torracat, my C tier pick.
Yeah, I heard you say D, and
no,
I was like,
it was so good. So I skipped a D tier, everybody. So I guess I could just do my C tier again. I've been talking a lot.
I wouldn't mind rewinding.
Yeah, let's rewind. So Sigilyph, by the way, in case anybody was like, ooh, Jason, you have such good ideas and you're such a good Pokemoner that I'm going to pick your C tier pick. It's not a C tier, it's a D tier because I skipped ahead. So my C tier pick is actually Torracat. Torracat, Intimidate user. A lot of people pick its, what's it called, the highest evolution in Incineroar. But Torracat, actually, it doesn't happen a whole lot with evolutions, but usually just stats go up. It's usually from its base level to its second evolution to its third evolution. You know what I mean, based on evolution. So it's first form, second form, third form. The stats are basically relative, and they just go up and up and up based on the evolution state. So Torracat's a little different because it maintains a 90 speed, and Incineroar actually goes down. So Incineroar and Torracat, they're almost completely. Not completely, but two different uses. Because of the speed on Torracat, you can get off a parting shot a lot faster than an Incineroar can. So I've seen a Choice Scarf Torracat as well, not to mention the Intimidate ability. Switching in and out your Torracat or Intimidate user actually is really beneficial. So that's why a lot of Intimidate users run either eject button, not eject button, but eject pack, or they
Yeah.
run the parting shot, U-turn, things like that. And the reason for that is just to cycle that Intimidate over and over and over, such as same thing as using cycling your terrain. So if you have something like a Rillaboom, you see it switching in and out a lot because you want the option to switch the terrain back if the opponent actually has their terrain in that they want. You can just switch it back out. Same thing with weather. You cycle in this and that. So Torragat can do that really, really well with Fake Out, not to mention every time it comes in, sets the Intimidate, gets another Fake Out off, and you just switch out again and lather, rinse, repeat. So Torracat gets access to Intimidate, like I mentioned, U-turn, and Parting Shot. But let's not sleep on its special attack stat. A base 80 special attack stat can be interesting if you run the Eject pack with Overheat. Overheat is very strong. Overheat 130 base, 130 power in its attack, and it does lower 2 stages, which is why you don't see it a ton. But with the Eject pack, as soon as the stat's lowered, it cycles itself out again, like I mentioned earlier. So Torracat could be really interesting if you're looking for A, Intimidate, B, you're looking for a lot of stat drops with Snarl and Parting Shot, Will-O-Wisp. It's just a great Pokemon overall. So if you're looking for a good C tier, I'd go for Torracat for sure. Do you have anything to say about Torracat?
An interesting trend that I've noticed, at least for the most part across all of Gen 8, is bulky fire types. They tend to be en vogue if there's going to be a fire type brought. If you look at the typical set on a Rotom Heat, your Torkoals, for the most part, being defensive sets, at least on the more successful, say, Sunroom teams, and Arcanine and Incineroar. Torracat brings much of what they bring to the table as well. I think the main justification that you would have for Torracat over Arcanine, since they're of similar speed and Arcanine actually outspeeds, is that Torracat gains access to Park, which in and of itself is a pretty strong move.
Can you say that one more time? I think it actually glitched out when you said that last line.
Where do I start?
You said it has a move. It starts with a P, I think.
Parting Shot.
Oh, you said Parting Shot. Okay, that's what I thought you said, but it got like all I hear was it goes and then you just finished your thought. I'm like, what was it? I think it was Parting Shot.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
So, access to the move Parting Shot, which, in addition to lowering attack and special attack, which is a little bit more versatile than Snarl, and unlike Snarl, doesn't normally miss. It allows you to switch Pokemon, which resets terrain, brings in somebody who can tank a hit that Torracat otherwise wouldn't be able to, and access to Fake Out, which you're also recycling. So I think that there's a place in the meta in general, and I think it was a creative pick, whoever first brought Torracat to a major tournament. And I see no reason why Torracat wouldn't succeed in the WPL.
Oh, I see. Okay. I had him on my radar if I didn't end up grabbing the Alolan Persian, so I'm glad I grabbed that. Because it kind of does the same thing, but without the...
Just because they're cats doesn't mean they do the same thing.
They do the exact same... That's exactly what they mean. All cats. I'm going to go for a theme in Season 3, just an all-cat team, so... shout out to Justin. So let's... I think we're actually on to our last pick now that I think of it.
Yeah, and there's only one now, actually. Left in T tier. It maybe feels a little bit like a cop out for me to pick a Pokemon who was on my team last season.
No.
But looking at who's left from D tier, I think it's fair to say that Crustle is among the strongest, especially among those who weren't picked. Crustle having respectable HP and special defense, excellent excellent physical defense, and a good attack stat. One of the ways in which I use Crustle, actually the only way I used Crustle was a weakness policy set. But I did make the sets, the two matches that I really prominently featured Crustle in slightly different ways. So with Crustle, you have the immunity to critical hits, which for normal critical hits coming up 6.25% of the time can actually occur surprisingly often. And the Pokemon you least want to get a crit is probably your Dynamax. Crustle is a really strong Dynamax option because they're difficult to take down. And um, with activating the weakness policy, actually has pretty threatening attack. Especially with a base 150 stab rock move coming from Rock Wrecker into
Oh my
Max
god.
Rockfall, which also boosts special defense. So there's a lot of synergy with what you can do with Crustle within all that. But Crustle gets access to Shell Smash to increase speed and boost attacking stats. And another option with Crustle is to go with Weak Armor, which upon ta taking a physical hit will lower the defense one stage but raise the speed two stages. So you could actually play a fast Crustle or a slow Crustle.
Mm-hmm.
And the typing of Bug and Rock gives Crustle weakness only to water and steel. And rock, because rock actually does not resist rock.
Mm-hmm. And I did not know that when you mentioned that to me as well.
It's counterintuitive, right? Well, I think it doesn't help for any of us who started playing in Gen 1 with all the ground types. All the rock types were dual type,
Yeah,
and
with ground,
they
yeah.
resist each other's rock types, but it's just from the ground
Well, same thing with
typing.
ice. Like I was always under the impression that ice was super effective against rock, and it's
Yeah,
not.
I thought that too. I thought that for a really long time, and I think it also comes from that. It was ground all along. Ground, how could you do this to us? You deceiver.
So what did I get away from this video? Ice is not super effective against rock. There you go. You heard it first here. Oh my God, Crustle. Yeah, Crustle's a fantastic Pokemon, man. Like you, if you got a weakness policy off on this thing, you could raise its speed 2 stages and get. So it's basically you're getting a free Shell Smash off, essentially, with none of the detriment at all. If you can get an Aqua Jet off on this thing first, and it would just be an absolute monster, right? So you can either use the Shell Smash yourself and have the White Herb on, or you could just Aqua Jet yourself, and then you get the same kind of boost while you're at it. Um,
Now, to that of oh, no, that doesn't work. Have you ever been like, well, if I have this ability and this ability on this Pokemon, profit.
like Calyrex shout out.
Yeah. So if Crustle ever gets access to both of their base abilities, you can Surging Strikes and not get a crit
Oh my God.
and get +6 speed, but that requires Shell Armor and
There will be an
Shell Armor
item.
and Weak Armor.
There will be an item in the future that allows you to have two abilities. I'm just calling it now. Oh man.
Um, imagine the potential. But alas, that will not. Well, perhaps it's a good thing that it won't be
Oh my God. I can't even
in the
imagine.
future.
I can't even imagine prankster and friggin' I don't know, something else. Like, oh boy.
Yeah, no,
Prankster
the
Moongus
with Regenerator.
with Regenerator. Oh my God. Just
Child,
cycle it.
please
I actually
no.
lost to one earlier today. It's yeah, oh my God, it was one of those I know it doesn't belong in this video, but I'm gonna mention it anyway. The guy ran the Meowstic male with the
Mm.
Amoonguss, and I knew exactly what he was gonna do,
Oh, yeah,
so I actually had a
classic
way.
combo.
I had a way to deal with that, and he ended up switched back in, and he did it. And I lost. I was like, oh no.
Oop.
Yeah. So I even called him. I even went in the chat, and I was like, yeah, man. I knew that was gonna happen. He's like, yeah, I thought it was gonna work, and then he ended up making it work anyway, and then he beat me. So
Yeah.
hats off to you, stranger.
Uh, hey, if you make it work, you make it work.
Mm.
It is what it is. But yeah, that's going to wrap up our picks for this time. How would you feel about doing something like this in future weeks? Kind of put Pokemon and free agency under the spotlight week to week?
I'm all for it because I think one of the main reasons we do things like this is A, for content, but mostly just to kind of, we want to have people learn as well. We had a few guys last season that that we're kind of just learning. I've mentioned myself that I'm kind of newer to VGC, not so much so if I lose I feel better, but more so that it's more so just a lot of people are in the same boat. You know, it was so easy to get into competitive in or in Gen 8.
Yeah,
Um, just
for sure.
because it's so easy to like the fact that you can have breeding moves or egg moves on top of a parent now, or bred onto a parent, makes breeding so much easier, and just things like that. So the game is very easy to make Pokemon. So I think that's one of the reasons why I got into it. But we want to give
Right.
people and make people better as well. So I think last season a lot of guys got better as the season went on. You could tell, um, like a lot of guys, they started off the season with either 1-3 or 0-4 records, and they finished what 3-5, you know, and things like that. So they
Yeah,
started
a lot of late
winning.
season wins.
Yeah, so I'd say this is a lot of guys are learning. So one of the reasons we want to do things like this, and this was a great idea by you, actually, by the way. This was not my idea for a video. I just kind of went, that's a fantastic idea. We have to do this. So yeah, I'd like to do it every single week. So especially the fact that free agents are going to change. So week one, like before the season starts. So get your picks in, by the way. If any of these appeal to you guys, get your picks in before Sunday night. East or West Coast or Europe, doesn't matter. It's 12 a.m. Eastern time, Monday morning. Technically, the first minute of Monday morning Eastern time is going to be your deadline. So get your picks in before then. Don't leave it to the last minute. And yeah, next week we'll have a different list because who knows? Maybe all what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 of these picks are going to be taken, and now we got to come up with a new 10, Brandon. Unbelievable.
That would be nuts, but I would certainly be proud. I think in the future, though, maybe we can cut ourselves a little bit short and take a deeper dive into our picks. What say you pick one, I pick one each week, and see how that goes?
Yeah, I'm down. It'll be a shorter video next time, but I think watch out for content throughout the season, guys. It's we're gonna come up with a little. Me and Brandon are gonna kind of start dishing out the content for you guys to kind of keep you entertained. We're gonna have a game of the week. That's what we're hoping for as well. So if you're picked, we're gonna showcase your team to the world, Pokemon League, um, and yeah, we're gonna do the free agents, the top free agents that we think, or the underused or overlooked free agents, and yeah, and we're not even sure. We might even come up with a bunch of other crazy ideas. So far, so good. And if you guys are
Awesome.
liking the content, throw in a subscribe, throw in a like, and just mention in the Discord that you liked it or things like that, because we don't know if anyone's watching. We hope they are. We hope they are.
Well, whether you're with us or not, thank you for clicking on this video. Hope you enjoyed, and hope to see you next time.
See you guys.
Bye.